Hi everyone, my name is Lennart Kruijer. I'm an archaeologist affiliated with Leiden University. My research focuses on the archaeology of the late Hellenistic kingdom of Commagene in what is now southeast Turkey in the region of Adıyaman. Since 2017, I'm active in the urban excavations in Dolige in southern Commagene, which are organized by the Forschungsstelle Asia Minor of Münster University. My research specifically focuses on rethinking social cultural transformations happening in Commagene during the 2nd and 1st century BCE, specifically by analyzing the influx of non-local elements in the region and by placing these in the context of a broader phenomenon of increased Afro-Eurasian connectivity and the emergence of what we might understand as a form of pre-modern globalization. Particularly for the 1st century BCE, we can observe in Commagene radical changes in the material makeup of the region, with monumental palaces and tomb sanctuaries being constructed that employed forms, materials, iconographies, and styles from across Afro-Eurasia. And the tomb sanctuary of Nebuchadnezzar, with its Seleucid, Persian, and Armenian elements, is the most famous example of this phenomenon. In my research, I investigate the local implications of this trans-regional connectivity. To what degree did these more than local connections transform the society of Commagene? And strongly tied to these issues, I am very passionate about the question how to study the tensions between the global and the local in material culture, developing critical methodologies engaging with current relational and post-humanist trends in archaeological theory. In my dissertation, I analyzed the archaeological legacy data of a late Hellenistic palace context in Samosata, the kingdom's capital. This site was excavated in the 1980s in the wake of its flooding by the Euphrates River, caused by the construction of the Ataturk Dam. Based on the myriad of unpublished archaeological documentation and a large corpus of unstudied objects in the Museum of Adıyaman, it was possible to acquire an updated understanding of the chronological sequence of the structure, mapping material transformations from the late Iron Age to the early Roman period. In tandem with this, my dissertation developed a critique on the analytical framework that is generally used to explain such changes, centering around the concepts of Hellenization and Hellenism. These acculturative notions are persistent in Near Eastern scholarship. However, as I argue in my dissertation, they are particularly problematic when uncritically applied to material culture, especially because labeling objects as Greek or Hellenic tends to reduce them to mere representations of cultural affiliations or associated identities. By drawing on ideas from new materialist theory, itself indebted to the work of Gilles Deleuze and Félix Guattari, I propose to reject this reductive interpretative framework and instead draw attention to the more than representational capacities of objects. For instance, their genealogical relations, their material affordances, and their active role in multisensorial assemblages. Insisting on the vibrant, effective nature of objects allows me to fundamentally rethink what it means when foreign objects enter into local contexts, thus reconceptualizing material changes in late Hellenistic Commagene not only as the outcome of globalization processes, but also as an active co-constituting factor. My new project, which I will conduct at the ANAMED, is entitled Cosmopolitan Islands, question mark, investigating the social embeddedness of dynastic and cultic innovation in late Hellenistic Commagene. This project addresses one of the main interpretative problems we are currently facing in the archaeology of Commagene, namely the fact that despite the rich record of monumental royal tomb sanctuaries, we actually know very little about the other non-royal social strata of Commagene society. In fact, we are largely in the dark concerning the direct spatial context of these tomb sanctuaries, and thus have very little knowledge about the degree to which they were embedded in the broader local tissue. As I stated before, these royal tomb sanctuaries appear to be highly cosmopolitan in character. It has generally been assumed, therefore, that they were completely uprooted hubs in which locality, be it defined in social, cultural, or religious terms, played no role whatsoever. Until now, this claim has, however, not been supported by any archaeological data, while at the same time it forms one of the basic tenets of scholarship on the dynastic and cultic project of Commagene. To start addressing this issue, my project will use as a case study one of the Commagenian tomb sanctuaries, Arsameia on the Nymphaios, and examine the relations between this cosmopolitan cult site and its direct spatial surroundings, the Kartakai Valley. This is done by means of a critical analysis of materials from the Dörner archive in the Forschungsstelle Asia Minor. This is a corpus of so far unpublished legacy data resulting from excavations and field surveys conducted in the 1950s and 1960s by Friedrich Karl Dörner in but also around the tomb sanctuary of Arsamaya on the Nymphaios. By unlocking this invaluable source, questions can be investigated concerning, for instance, the degree of trans-regional integration of the Commagenian rural landscape. In doing so, my project attempts to place the Commagenian ruler cult in a wider social context than the largely royal and elite lenses through which it has traditionally been regarded. As such, the project hopes to contribute to a better understanding of the ways that Hellenistic period globalization processes and their often cosmopolitan outcomes impacted the dynamics between dynastic cult sites and their surroundings. I'm very much looking forward to my stay at the ANAMED, and I also look forward to discuss topics of shared interest with the other fellows. So thank you and see you in September.